I'm so tired. Oh, nice. Made 8 Mansion. One thing I've really got in front of me is this again. All right, and welcome to the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast, episode 134. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me this week, Steven.
Sup?
Rachel.
Yo.
And Chris.
Hi.
Chase is just, off doing other things, I guess. I don't know. We'll play games later. We got done with Gears. He just dumped us. He had stuff going on. I just give him a hard time. Oh, man. It has been an interesting week. I am very tired from working on pretty much redesigning half my house. Working on that stuff. But we'll go ahead and jump into what we've been up to so we can get caught up on that. That's one for Rachel. She's already yawning.
I was up late last night gaming. Okay.
I kind of was, I guess. So we'll get into that. Steven, we'll start with you. What have you been up to?
I've been playing a lot of free stuff. But anyway, I'm still doing my daily multiverses. They actually went through an update to do some quality of life improvements, so things can go a little bit faster, a little bit easier now, where you don't have to do a lot of loading. So I'm liking that they're taking feedback to heart. They had to take down a character for a day because it got all weird and glitchy, and then put him back. But he's back now, so Jason is back. They took him off to put him back. Then, because it kept getting advertised both on X and on my PlayStation itself, I decided to download the first Descendant, free to play.
What's that?
It's by Nexon. It's one of those Stellar Blade type of fan service, but it's locked behind a lot of either gameplay or DLC. But you decide what you want to pay for. You don't have to. But essentially, it is a looter shooter up to 4-player co-op, and it's pretty much just a much, much, much prettier Destiny looking and playing game for me. And you can use some of the characters have Spider-Man abilities, they have grappling hooks so they can get there and they can swing around poles. So the game looked gorgeous, and I'm saying just the cutscenes and the backgrounds themselves. So it wasn't too bad. I'm wondering how grindy it gets. I don't know yet. I just played through the story, which was well done, and I got into the main hub, which has a bunch of people running around in various stages of cosplay looking characters.
You lost me at looter shooter, and then you lost me even more at Destiny, because boy howdy did I used to play Destiny, and then it got a bad taste in my mouth because then no one would play.
I think because this is more action oriented, that it takes me out of. I played Destiny for a while too, but then I got bored by the grind. No matter what storyline they had, it was always the same things to shoot. But I want to give this a chance. Speaking of chances, I also downloaded Zenless Zone Zero.
It sounds like a tongue twister,
which is basically in the vein of Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail and what have you. It is super anime based. It is a gacha game, but the gameplay itself is really well done to how you transition to different characters. You can bring a squad with you. I don't know how microtransaction-y it's gonna get. And I'll be the first to say, sorry, Jeremy, but I do enjoy the action a lot more than I did in Hi-Fi Rush. I just wish I could turn off the music part of Hi-Fi Rush and just play the game, because
that's kind of the purpose of it. That's saying I wish I could play Forza if I could just turn off that damn driving.
Because it feels like Devil May Cry. You want to do more slashes, more combos, but you want to do it your own way. So I think that's why I like Zenless Zone Zero.
You can still do that in the other one. You just get more for doing it on rhythm, but
yeah. Also, because it got Shadow Drop this week, I played the game that was released in the US now from the NES called Mystery of Atlantis on Nintendo Switch Online. And when I started playing it, I realized that the game, I watched a certain Japanese personality called Game Center CX with Reno play this. The game is brutally difficult. It doesn't tell you anything. I don't know where I'm going. The whole game's timed. It makes Dead Rising look easy in terms
Okay,
of timing.
I was writing it down to check it out, and now the moment you said timed, I am crossing it out.
Well, you already have it on your
2D
Switch, but...
platformer,
Oh, I
and
know.
it is a 2D platformer, and everything, including your own ammunition, kills you. It is insanely difficult, and I was just like, "Holy crap, is this hard?"
What is wrong with them making games so hard?
Back then,
That was the NES days. That's how it was.
I don't care for that.
and last but not least, last week we were just looking what else we could play co-op, and Chase and I decided to start playing a game called Stranded Deep.
What is that?
It's on PlayStation Plus right now. I think it's either on Premium or Extra. It's on one of those. It's one of those survival games.
That explains why you guys didn't message me.
It's only 2 people, that's why.
Oh,
Because his girlfriend got upset that she couldn't play as well, so she had to start her own, like, I'll do it better with blackjack and hookers, basically. But we started playing through it, and I made the mistake of putting wildlife on realistic instead of passive. So while we're trying to survive and make basic needs like food, water, spreading aloe on ourselves so we don't get sunburnt, we're getting beat up by hammerhead sharks. We're getting bitten by warthogs. We're getting poisoned by snakes, and we don't have enough materials to make the antidote, so we die.
Oh no.
So yes, everything was out to kill us. We weren't doing very well on that front. When we finally got working water so we could drink regularly, we decided to go to another island, and that was a bad idea because that's where everything kept killing us. You can either, every time you die, unless you get resurrected by your friend, you have to restart the whole game. Where you were, you can only save if you create a tent. But other than that, yeah, it was extremely difficult, and I'm surprised they put a permadeath option on there that if you die, it erases your save game.
I'm not surprised by that at all. That seems to be popular.
It is purely super survival, and I want to play it more, but I don't even... I think I need to make it so the animals don't hurt us anymore.
Lord. All right. Chris, what about you? What have you been up to?
Well, I've been playing the Grandia HD collection because a friend of mine just kept bothering me to play that game. I had it on an emulator. It broke.
Fun. Oh.
I had it on PlayStation, on PSP. It broke.
Oh no.
I had it on... I never had it on the original hardware, and that's the problem with older games.
Oh.
Some of them do not emulate well, and they will just either soft lock or just kind of crash at random intervals. And I have had that problem with the original Grandia for years. Only after getting it on Switch in the HD collection is it starting to behave, and I'm actually able to play it now. So,
what are you thinking so far?
It's fun. I had no idea that it was actually worked on by a lot of the people who worked on Lunar, so that's why it feels pretty familiar, I would say.
The music is great.
Oh, absolutely.
You like hearing Cam Clark so much?
Well, he is in there, so...
It's just
but
a good game.
I haven't played the second one. I've only played the first so far. I'm a little less than halfway in, according to the person that suggested it. I also, for now, finished up SMT Vengeance. Yes, on my 5th run. I am only missing 4 demons in the Demon Compendium, but that means I have to play through the other timeline and defeat somebody else and then go back to the other timeline from there. So it's going to be a little while, and I
hope Metaphor has like 75 timelines.
You'll never hear from me again.
He won't come out of his room.
I will stop doing the podcast. You will just have to put, what is he doing? Metaphor. That's it. But I've also helped Steve with Multiverses. It's not really my thing, but it's fun. And I've also played Zenless Zone Zero. It is very gacha-y, as was mentioned before, but I really like the art. I'm enjoying the character interaction, and the character design is phenomenal. So, and of course the gameplay is great too, so I've been enjoying that.
Nice. All right. Rachel, what about you? What have you been up to?
Well, not as much as the last time we had the podcast, because there was, a bit of a break there, so I had a lot to catch up on. I bought the new Monkey Ball game, and got the last local copy of the Monster Hunter Stories collection. I don't know why they couldn't just do 2 cartridges in one pack, but they didn't. They did Monster Hunter Stories on the cartridge and then have a download for Monster Hunter Stories 2. Don't know why. That's just how they did it.
I think they did that because there is a cartridge for Monster Hunter Series 2 that was released already.
Oh, I know. I just thought it
So-
would be fun to do a collection and, like that. And then, who knows? That's what I would have preferred. But it's okay. It's all right. I got over it. But I've been playing, obviously, that. I got, like, through the first, like, area in Monkey Ball, and now I'm on the second, like, thing. I just play it every now and then because it's just, basically puzzles with speed. Then Monster Hunter Stories, I play a little bit here, a little bit there. My like library of to be completed games grows exponentially and never ends. So here we are. But I feel a little bit better about that because I am replaying all of the Nancy Drew games again because I know I can finish those in their entirety, and it makes me feel accomplished knowing that I can finish some game. So in the last 48 hours, I finished Ghost Dogs of Moonlake and the Haunted Carousel. Haunted Carousel I finished today in a couple of hours, and I now I'm on Danger and Deception Island, which is you're in the Pacific Northwest on an island, and you're supposed to be on vacation, but the lady you're staying with, her boat got sabotaged, so now you have to solve that mystery, and there's an orca involved, and it's just wild. And it's just good. Every time I play these games, I remember how good the music is in it because it's just very zen and chill, but also there's dramatic parts that have oh whoa, why did the music change? That's weird, or that's spooky. And I wish that they had all these soundtracks on Spotify, but I'm pretty sure they're all free source, free music that was available when they first started making them. So now I'm just I bet they're all on there if I looked hard enough, but I really don't want to that's not a puzzle I want to solve. We'll let it find me instead of me finding it.
Might be on YouTube.
It probably is, but I'll look it up. And then last night I was up late playing Sea of Thieves because I haven't played it in a while. And I discovered they changed everything around, and I had not actually tried out really Safer Seas yet, which it's very interesting. You're not sailing with other players. You're only sailing with the people that you want to sail with. So for people new to the game that are trying to get to a certain level in the factions to reach a certain point, it makes it easier for you to get to that. Well, kinda. You don't get as much experience, but it's less stressful getting there, even though it might take you longer, because you don't have to worry about, doing a where you're diving down into the siren area and coming back up to only find your ship has been sunk by some ass.
That's what I had way back when, and I was like, we're just trying to get into the game and get settled, and people are like, "Oh, an empty ship I can sink while they're on the island." I'm like, thanks.
Yeah. So this is the way to basically, if you have people that are new to the game that you're playing with, or just people playing that are new to the game, this is a good way to get them acclimated and really enjoying the game. And there's other activities and stuff that you can't do in the Safer Seas, and once you get past a certain level of the factions, you don't really earn progress to them in Safer Seas. So it's a really good way to get up to the the cutoff level, and then also do things all of the siren shrines and stuff like that, and vaults and things, and then also a good way to do the tall tales without having to worry about too much. And then I did discover that when you choose voyages now, which is fascinating, by the way, all of your voyages are now at your table in your ship. You don't choose them from each individual tent on the islands. And then when you do choose that, you can actually, instead of sailing there from the island that you got the voyage on, you can now elect to essentially fast travel. which when you fast travel, your ship Flying Dutchman's itself. So once you sail into the open seas, it actually sinks below the waves and bursts out of the waves near the island of your voyage is taking you, which I thought was so cool. And I was just like, haha, I'm Davy Jones. Hee hee ta. So last night I was up late. I was streaming, but I was also playing with Jesse, and he had never played before. And I had a really good, like a really nice person. I think his name was Apache. In the like chat section of my stream that was really helpful and getting me reacclimated, because I was like, I don't know where anything has moved to because it's updated like 3 times since I've played last, because I hadn't played since like everything started happening with my family and all that, like all those months ago. So I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but it was really fun, and I think it would be a good way for all of us to play together, because I know that, we'd probably all get very frustrated if we were trying to do something and all of a sudden our ship got sank by some Joe Schmo pain in the butt. So, yeah.
All right. I guess we'll go into what I've been up to, which hasn't been the most complicated list. So I was talking earlier about rebuilding pretty much half my house with the game room, redoing everything last night or the past couple of days, and hooking up just about every system I own, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that takes a long time. So just to go on the list right now, I have the NES, the Super Famicom, which are both an FPGA system that I run those on, Super Nintendo. Then I have the analog, their Sega Genesis, which also is the Master System, the Game Gear, and the SG-1000 that I have games for. Then, Nintendo 64, which is the RGB modded one. The GameCube, which is also modded. My Wii U, not the modded one. That's actually in the Wii U display. Like friggin' the Series X, the PS5, the original Xbox, just a good chunk of systems. It's like 20 something systems, I think, at this point.
Are you going to make like a instructional chart?
No, it actually changes automatically.
Oh, that's good.
I turn a system on and it immediately kicks over.
If you're not home and your son's like, can I play this? And you're like, sure. Just
no, they
press
can't.
the white button, number 3, turn sideways, and pray.
I need to get a SCART switcher for a couple of the systems for the RetroTink, and then probably get another smaller HDMI switch, like maybe a 6-port, so I can run the older, like up to 1080p systems through the RetroTink, which include the Switch, the 360, the PS3, stuff like that through there, so I could switch between those inputs. Yeah, they'll need paperwork for that probably, but they shouldn't be in here messing with that anyways most of the time.
Yeah, it got so bad when I was trying to put them all up, I was almost contemplating buying a Harmony remote. Remember those?
Yeah. I mean, I have everything going through a 20-port HDMI switch that can handle full 4K with everything, and it automatically switches between them, which is great. Which that's then going out to a splitter, which has one of them going to the TV. The other one comes to this computer for the capture card, which then outputs to this monitor, so I can switch between the monitor and play whatever's in there and here and record it if I feel like it. And I have a couple extra HDMI cords that are connected but don't go to anything, in case I ever want to break out and play like, the NES Classic or, the Genesis ones, or I've got the Sega arcade machine, the little mini one you can plug in and use that. There's always something that's going to end up coming in there.
Yeah, one day where you just find an HDMI cable by itself and you're like, where does this go?
The hardest part is trying to remember which cables, because they're not always clearly labeled, which ones are high speed, so they'll work with 4K up to 120, and which ones aren't.
Yeah, it took me the longest with my TV, because I was like, if you're on this setting, I want you to do this to the settings, but if you're on this, I want you to do this to the settings. And it's like, okay, after watching enough YouTube videos to become my own channel, I finally got it down. So I was like, I'm leaving it alone.
Yeah, I hooked up the Series X, the PS5, and the RetroTink first, because that way I could make sure all 3 of those are outputting at proper 4K. Everything's going through the system to the TV and capture card. after that, it doesn't matter. The HDMI is the HDMI because they're never going to go over 1080p, so it's
I
fine.
was just happy when I was setting everything up that Netflix has a thing you can watch that all it does is test your surround sound. I was like, sweet.
I still break out the Halo 2 Collector's Edition disc that's got the little grunt doing the 5.1 surround sound test. It's just hilarious. It's like he's making jokes and running around the room doing stuff, and then until finally the big thing in the back starts growling, and that's the bass.
Oh, I remember when Rogue Squadron did that too. The Rebel, or was it Rogue Strike? One of the sequel.
I think the first one had a good because that'll let you know if you can still use Dolby Pro Logic or Pro Logic 2. Because a lot of modern setups, when they switch to HDMI, will not support Pro Logic, just so you're aware. So always check that. Make sure it works. That's part of why my GameCube is hooked up with the component cables, which those are expensive. Good luck. So I can actually run those out because it's like a $400 set of cables.
It was like people who found out that the Dreamcast VGA adapter doesn't work on all the games.
Yeah, I had to find a specific SCART cable for that, so it'll actually switch between. There's like a little switch I can hit on there that'll go between the modes, so I get better color separation, but I don't have to swap the cables all the time. Because I love the VGA, but there was even a couple fighting games that wouldn't support it, which is like the big no for me. Because Dreamcast.
I remember
is
even what was it the 360 certain video cables had that little switch on it for HD and SD.
Yep. I remember that because they had the two sets of cables and you had to pick between them.
Yeah.
I had a lot of the VGA cables on the 360. I think I used that more than the Xbox or than the Dreamcast. But part of what also takes longer is you can't hook up a system and test it without playing something. And I have started and played through the openings of a lot of games because I'm just like, why not? We wanted to test the Saturn and we're like, oh, okay, well, let's start getting in and checking out some of the fighting games. So, of course, I had to play Virtua Fighter 2 and a little bit of X-Men Children of the Atom and then some Street Fighter Cross X-Men as I'm jumping around. So that took a while. And then I was showing, Jeremy brought one of his friends over. I showed him the original Resident Evil on Saturn, which we had to play through till we got to the Jill Sandwich joke. And then we were talking about that, switched over to GameCube, and we're playing through the opening of the remake on GameCube. And yeah, I got shinied by my own game collection. The only other thing I've really been playing a lot, I've been messing with Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, which I've been enjoying, but I'm trying to finish Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, and I've been really enjoying it, but it's getting to the point it feels needlessly long. Like I kind of want it to just finish, but I apparently have like two more sections to go, but it's just kind of dragging along. I got past the train, all that stuff. Found the stuff with Princess Peach of what's going on with her. I'm just kind of wanting it to go along because it feels like it's kind of grinding to a halt. And I don't know if that was an issue with the first one. So I don't know, trying to finish it. And then I also have SMT 5 Vengeance because Jeremy once again bought it for me as his attempt for me to play it. I'm going to try. I didn't get very far in the first one, but I have it, so I'm going to try it.
You'll get farther than I did in SMT4. So,
yeah, Chris, I might have to hit you up if I get stuck.
It's not for everybody, but if you want any kind of advice, I'll offer it.
It's like I have so many SMT games. I try and get into them, but it never seems to click.
I still think the SMT games are the hardest of the bunch.
Well, I think the biggest thing is Jeremy wants me to enjoy it as well because he loves the series so much. I'm trying to get into that. He's really happy that I have finally clicked with Final Fantasy 14. I've been playing that and enjoying it since I can play it on my Xbox. I like it on there. So there's at least that. I've done that part. All right. Well, I think that's about enough for me. So we can go ahead and jump into our news. We got a little bit of an eclectic bit of stories this week. Starting off with a few things, but let's go right into it. All right. So Netflix has announced they are shutting down production on the live-action Horizon Zero Dawn series. This seems to be a result from showrunner Steve Blackman, who is also one of the guys from Umbrella Academy, being accused of, quote, toxic, bullying, manipulative, and retaliatory behavior by 12 different employees. And there's other shows by Blackman they're working on that seem to also be kind of being shut down. So they seem to be taking this as like everything he's been working on, they're just going to kind of go away. I I'm guessing, Umbrella Academy was already on its final season, but I think that's too far in production for them to just pull the cord on it, because that's about done. But I don't know. Horizon Zero Dawn just seems like a series that can never catch a break.
I mean, it's getting a Lego game.
It's getting a Lego game, yeah. It's really funny. Sony got asked directly, so if you want this to be everywhere, why are you not putting it on Xbox? And they refuse to anscer.
Of course they are.
It just put a bad taste in their mouth.
They took our Call of Duty.
Well, I mean, they're perfectly fine having Xbox games come to PlayStation, but they're saying they want this to be in all these places for sales, and they're just kind of quietly ignoring that one. So I don't know. It's gonna be kind of funny when Microsoft finally just cuts it off and no more Call of Duty or something. See how that goes. But yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn. I don't know if it's canceled in its current form. Eventually the rights will go back to Sony, and I'm sure Sony will try it again to see what's going on. But at this point, if you're looking forward to it, sorry, it's probably not happening. So, all right. So on to some more Sony news. So Tokyo Game Show is later this year, and Sony will once again be part of it. So they were there last year in a smaller context. They were only showing like smaller independent titles, but this year they're actually supposed to be pushing for a lot more stuff. Tokyo Game Show is billing themselves as the largest ever this year, but a lot of people are kind of wondering, what will Sony be showing off? Because they've had kind of a crappy year of showing things this year. Limited amount of games, a lot of stuff not being in production. They're kind of faltering on PlayStation VR 2. Even so much as like they've only got, I think, one in-house studio working on it right now. A lot of the other productions, like some third parties are working on it, but everybody else has kind of dropped it.
So I wonder if this is a Sony saying we want to attend, or if TGS was like, we want you to attend. And the reason why I ask is because this is not the only company I've noticed like that's going to TGS that I'm just like, that's weird. So on one level, I'm wondering if TGS is like kind of padding the attendance because there's things that people expect to be announced that's not going to be announced. So
happens always.
That's my
that's
take
the only
on
guaranteed announcement is the one you're not getting.
Exactly. Like, and I'm sitting here like, because usually at TGS there's always one absolutely huge massive announcement, right? Always. And maybe there's not this year, and that's why they're padding it. I don't know, tinfoil hat theory, but
who knows? The funniest speculation, or the one that's pushing now, has been, will this be finally where the fabled PlayStation 5 Pro will be announced?
It's not going to be at TGS. Sorry,
we're waiting for GTA 6 for that.
I still think that would be the dumbest thing they could do. They haven't even really produced enough to make a PS5 really worth having over a PS4. Why make another system when you're still not doing enough with the first one?
I mean,
didn't they already say they have no first-party games this year?
Yeah.
At all.
They're taking a break.
So essentially, they're just going to be handing out PlayStation water bottles to the
Didn't
Switch
matter. They're
line.
taking a break. Everybody needs breaks.
It's my guess that's I think Nintendo is finally going to drop their bombshell there, and Sony's just going to hand out water bottles on the huge line for Switch 2.
Oh yeah, because that's everyone's still wondering because we know the Switch 2 is going to be a thing. The PS5 Pro, they've kind of hinted back and forth if it's going to be a thing or if it's not going to be a thing. And I'm wondering how that's affecting sales, because if people want to buy a PS5, if they hear there might be a Pro coming out, they might just wait. And if it's not actually coming, they're not really helping. So it's such a weird play, because they can't really, if there's not one coming, Sony, well, I guess they could come out and say we're not making one, but even then that could look weird. It's such a weird situation. You can't prove something that's not happening, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Would you guys want a PS5 Pro?
Listen, I love my PlayStation 5, but much like my Switch, I'm having trouble having space on it for everything that I play.
What
So
needs to run better?
I'm about to say
At
this
least
would be
with PS4 Pro, they introduced HDR. But what does PS5 need to show or improve on?
oh, okay, here it is. Here it
More
is.
controller support
No, no,
for
no.
third parties?
Not just that. Not just that. Just better options on expandable space. That's all I care about.
But that could be a firmware update.
Can it?
not really. They've kind of, just like Xbox, they've kind of locked themselves in with
Yeah.
that speed
They'd need-
requirement.
They'd need another USB port or another like internal like place to install it without doing a whole, swap out.
Yeah, they'd have to have multiple internal slots for that.
So that would be the only reason for me to get a PS4 Pro is if they were a little more accommodating on storage stuff. That would be the reason. That would be my reason, 100%, that I would do. I would transfer my whole console over to the new one and then trade in my old one. Oh, and please let it have a disk drive. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I know. What would do it for Chris is if they said now it plays audio CDs.
Stop saying things like that when it's not going to happen. I
We
would
just want
love
Only the
one
Pro version plays
home
audio CDs.
console that plays audio CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, CDRs, GameCube CDs. Just something that plays all the damn discs, so I don't have to have a stack of various things.
The funny thing is my older analog only really nice CD player deck that I still use to this day is a Sony. Because it's still such a damn good CD player. Oh, that's hilarious. So yeah, I guess we'll find out. I'm not sure of the exact date. I forgot of when Tokyo Game Show is.
Isn't it usually in September?
Yeah,
it's a
I
little
looked it up.
before
It's
that.
It's towards the end of September.
Oh,
It's
okay.
always in September. Almost always. Oh, good.
Well, they're talking about the. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just good. It's after Beetlejuice because I would be too excited to pay attention if it was before or during. So
Good God.
listen, there is one thing I'm looking forward to this year, and that is that. So
After that, she just stops talking to us. Like, I'm done. Bye.
I've
So I'm wondering
I've got the popcorn bucket. She's good.
Yeah, Tokyo Game Show saying like it's the biggest one, or the largest one ever, and so forth. And some of these other shows trying to push in. Do you think they're trying to compensate or overcompensate, or maybe even take the place size-wise of like E3, which I doubt they're going to make it for that, but they're trying to be.
They've definitely come very close to that, if not eclipse that, because they even have a day where everybody is welcome to it. Like they have a open to the public day. Because my friend who goes to Japan every now and then, he specifically went there when that was going on, and he said the public day was insane, but he loved every minute of it. It was just fantastic going in there. It wasn't just about like, hey, look at my booth babes and stuff. It was just like gaming nirvana.
Right.
So I can understand it.
We shall see. All right. Next up. So, hey, you guys like your shooters and your looter shooters and so forth? You know, your live service games? Well, here's another one going to crap. Capcom announces that the live service shooter Exoprimal will no longer be receiving updates after the recent final update. Now, they stated that, quote, all planned Exoprimal season content is now complete, and after July 11th, the season content will just cycle out each month. So the game will be running kind of on life support, cycling out this content every month that they've already gone through, which means you'll be doing the exact same thing every time. And just to show you how compacted this life cycle has become, the game was announced March 2022. So just over 2 years ago, we heard about it. It got released July of 2023. So now 1 year later, it's stopping all extra content being added to it and everything just to go from there. But there's a bit of good news if you want to keep playing this. As the player base shrinks as nothing new will be added, Capcom did state in their blog that, quote, if you're playing alone or matched with only a few other players, bots, that's AI-controlled exo fighters, will be added so that you can fully enjoy the Hammerhead story and reach the ending.
Well, I'm glad I can finally download and play this game. I'm excited.
That's nice.
And
Look
I
at it on the
wait for
good side.
Exoprimal 2, where they finally realized that they should have had a Dino Crisis crossover this whole time, not just make one of the characters look like Regina.
Yeah,
So
that pissed off so many people. They're like,
It's
this
the
is
25th anniversary of Dino Crisis.
I'm noticing a lot of these live service MMO things, right? I'm noticing a trend. People put a lot of them out because they keep trying to emulate the success of other successful MMOs.
You're not going to be Fortnite, guys.
And it doesn't work. And then they do this about 2.5 years after. The solution is stop putting them out. You won't lose money if you don't make the bad game.
Yeah, they're hoping that the one they make is the one that unseats Fortnite, just like Fortnite when it finally came out kind of unseated other games. You know, they want to be that one magical bullet, and it's just not going to happen.
But you don't want it to unseat Fortnite either, but you want it to be unique enough that people play it like they play Apex and Valorant. And
But it won't. If people just stopped trying to unseat Fortnite and stopped trying to be Fortnite, maybe they'd actually unseat Fortnite or something like that. Maybe they would. So they're already putting themselves in a box. And that's why it's failing.
Capcom, we're not mad. You're giving us more Phoenix Wright. You've done good with Resident Evil.
Really,
you've remembered what Marvel vs. Capcom was.
You gave me Edgeworth.
You're doing good. You're gonna get ice cream on the way home.
Everybody gets a failed live service game. Now we've gotten Capcom. We're getting WB, even though they said they're finishing their contract of having multiple seasons.
Oh God! You know what would be the worst case scenario is if the new Dead Rising was a live service game and you could just one person got to be Frank, everybody else had to play as zombies, and you're like slowly going towards trying to kill the player.
EA had theirs. Like everybody's like, we're going to try a live service, and we're going to fail miserably, but we want to be part of that club.
So yeah, like Capcom, you gave me Edgeworth. You're doing a good job. Just stop. Just. You know, I want every single game developer out there to ask themselves before they develop a live service game, an MMO, anything. Am I trying to be like the following? And then enter all of the successful MMOs, all the successful like am I trying to be like that? Because let me tell you, lightning don't strike twice, buddy boy. So, and if it does, buy a lottery ticket. So.
I don't think we added it to the notes. I just remembered. Speaking of live service going to fail, can we just pour out a 40 for Crazy Taxi being announced that it will be an open world MMO?
I've never had such a fast turnaround to like, I'm really excited. Oh, never mind. I'm out.
You know, just because it sounds so crazy and it's Sega of all things, I almost want to try it just for the comedy of it.
I think Jeremy and I in the Discord were imagining all the horrible things, and I'm like, hey, you ran out of crazy gas. Put in more crazy tokens to play some more. $2.
Yeah, I was gonna have it like if you got a flat tire, you could either pay to have it fixed right then, or you have to wait a day for it to get towed somewhere to get fixed. But also check out the new area, the Broken Glass and Nail Factory, located center of the city.
The tire will inflate after 24 hours.
Right. Oh man.
One thing I would want to do in a game like that is find the border. I want to find the edge.
And as one person pointed out, why are there police cars? Those aren't taxis. Those aren't a rival taxi company. That's a cop car.
You're not going home. You're going to a box. That's not good.
Like, I mean, that means you're driving everybody you pick up to jail. Because why would you be taking them to the local KFC?
That is truly a crazy taxi. Oh, all right. With that joke, I'm moving on. All right. So, hats off, everyone. It's the end of an era. Nintendo has officially ended support for Wii U repairs because they no longer have parts. They have run out. A recent service notice stated the period for retaining repair parts as stipulated in the repair service regulations has expired. So as soon as the current stock of parts is depleted, repair services will end. So the system is now listed as no longer eligible for repair on an end-of-life service page that they keep up. So if your Wii U breaks, learn to solder. and go find a dude named Voltaire online. He will sell you parts to try and fix that NAND chip that'll go out.
Or go
Or just
to
call me.
your or call Jeremy, or go to your locally owned and operated retro game store that also does repairs. Support small businesses. Thank you.
Pretty sure around here it would still be me, but whatever.
Yes, around up there maybe, but I think of where
It's a
I
bit of a
live.
trip for you, but would work
Yeah.
something out. I'd help you out.
Well, I mean, I can go to the locally owned and operated game store down here too.
Fine, Rachel, don't see your friend.
It's a long drive, Jeremy.
I'll meet you halfway. I don't have to pay for gas. It seems, I don't know. I know it's been 7 years since the Switch came out. I don't know why it does not feel like it's been that long, because I heard this and I was like, man, I know the Wii U wasn't popular, but they ended support for that really quick. No, dude, it's been almost 10 years, guys.
I mean, I need Rachel to send me the link for that person's Wii remotes before they get really popular.
Oh yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
Because my parents need one, and I was like, "Oh crap!"
Okay.
Yeah.
Those things are going to become like
with the Motion Plus. That's the
Yeah.
one. Okay, I got you.
I'm
I
still
got
sitting
you.
on a
they're
nice
going to be
hoard of
solid
those
24
first
karat
parties.
gold after a while. I'm like,
I
oh,
got
goodness.
you. I hope it's they're still selling them, because it might have already done the thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
they might have
God.
heard the news too and be like, "Oh,
But yeah, so Wii U is out. So I'm curious how long the Switch is going to be getting repairs and parts for it, because it's kind of a different beast. Like, once that battery goes out, you can't run the Switch. People are going to have to come up with a modification or something to get it past that point without the battery to start up, even as a console. Because I was having to work on one the other day that had not been charged in a long time. I just set it on the dock and let it charge for a good 20-30 minutes before it would boot. So once that battery goes, you won't even be able to turn it on. So I'm guessing we're going to have consoleized mods. I think that's going to be the first thing we're going to start seeing, where people are making it non-portable with a power supply, and they'll probably bypass that initial power with a capacitor.
none of these things
or
ever
something.
die; they just become bionic,
Right.
or minis."
It will transform. We already have a mini one, and I don't like it. That damn Switch Lite. That's the opposite. Like that's the anti one. It will die and the battery won't work. If it's a console only, it sucks that it can't transform, but at least it would still work.
You either live forever or slowly become a Raspberry Pi.
So that just 100% reminds me of the fact that I was
Wow.
doing some research today
Mhm.
about modded like iPod Classics and stuff, and how to get them to connect to CarPlay and all that different stuff. And then like I just went down a rabbit hole, and I discovered this group of people that mod Zunes. And
yeah, I'm trying to get mine revived.
if you find
have
another
two.
one,
I have two. I'm working on right now.
boy, I will buy it off you.
Let me figure out the modding first, Rachel. Then
Yeah.
we'll talk.
Yeah, because
I'll have you pay for parts.
I literally the more I read into it, I miss my Zune so much.
I do too. I like my Zoom better than my iPod.
I did too. So
I was one of those people.
The only reason I don't have mine anymore is the lock button, which was also the on-off button,
Mhm.
broke. And there was no one locally. This was just after they stopped like repairing them and all
Oh,
of that. No one locally could help me.
and I'm sure you've
And-
already gotten rid of it by now.
Oh, it's long. I don't even know. I don't even remember throwing it out. I don't remember where it went. This was like in high school, so it was over 10 years
Oh
ago.
wow!
Yeah. So
Back when the Wii U came out.
yeah, exactly. So we'll talk, Jeremy, because I want it. I loved the custom backgrounds. I still remember all my like everything. I
I want to drop like 512 gigs of space in it. Maybe a terabyte, and just have all the music I've ever had in that thing.
100%. That's what I would do.
All right. Speaking of filling up stuff with downloads, so we have a bunch of weirdly chosen NES games that were dropped on the Switch Online last week. So Cobra Triangle, Solar Jetman, The Mystery of Atlantis, Mock Rider, Golf, Donkey Kong Jr. Math, and finally, like, just the stuff that just keeps coming back, Urban Champion.
Online fighting game. Look at that.
Oh, God.
I don't know what any of these are, but
Well,
I
Rachel, what
kind of
this is, if you look at it, it looks like the bottom of a barrel, and they're just scraping the hell out of it.
okay, but the one that I'm probably gonna check out just because it's a kid's game and I just want to know what it is. Donkey Kong Jr. Math. I need to know.
Imagine
That
Donkey
can get
Kong Jr.,
competitive.
but instead of the locks that would release Donkey Kong, they're math equations. So you would climb up the
Additions.
vine with the number 4 to do 2 plus 2.
I
Yeah,
like
so-
this a lot less now.
You can compete with people, so it can become even nerdier, where you're competing with math.
Listen,
there's some neat stuff in there because you have Cobra Triangle and Solar Jetman that are both rare games.
Yes.
So enjoy them how you will of what they thought back in the day. You have Mystery of Atlantis, which is an impossible game as I went through.
You
I
and
want
I
to
talked
try it
about
at
that.
least.
Mhm.
And yes, it's going to be a spoiler for everybody, but Mock Rider, I believe, even preceded Samus Aran. So when you find out the motorcycle rider is a girl, it's like, oh my goodness. So
I joke, but golf is actually one of my. I absolutely love that NES game. Like, I still love playing that, to the point I have the arcade stuff for it.
I own Urban Champion on my 3DS, unfortunately.
Like, let me see if it's right over here. Let me grab this.
I remember playing Urban Champion 3D, and I was like, why did I pay money for this?
Okay. This is how much I enjoy golf on the NES. This is the glass marquee for Versus Golf from Nintendo. Yeah, I got Excite Bike over there too.
Jeremy, sometimes the things you own, I'm just consistently surprised.
I'm gonna start selling a bunch of stuff here soon, so people keep an eye out. I'm thinning out and kind of not getting rid of a bunch of stuff, but just kind of
Gonna have
paring
to
it
make a
down.
new Discord group called like Zenspath Auctions.
Yeah, buy Jeremy's shit.
There you go. BJS.
Find all the good stuff. All right, let's see. All right, so let me look here. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see there's more games coming out. Like, I'm joking about that, but it is still really good stuff kind of popping up there.
I just want to know what their last update will be until they transition to the next.
I'm hoping all this stuff carries over. I still am of the argument that Switch 2, the day it comes out, all of these games need to be available.
And they made it sound that way because they said they wanted to make sure that all the as they said, the benefits of Nintendo accounts and Nintendo Online will carry over, they said, but they didn't say like what that meant.
Well, they didn't say whose benefit. It could just be like your credit card information carries over,
Like,
and we
is
get
it
to
just
charge
my
you
cloud
again on the
saves?
new system.
If it's my cloud saves, that means backwards compatibility. Is it just the online play, or is it you can update the app to voice chat with your friends using the phone?
God, if we get voice chat on the actual hardware, I'll be.
Just
They
give
can
us
just do that.
Discord Switch. Just give us Discord.
Yeah, that's been the best thing ever. So, who knows? All right, moving on to our next little bit of interesting Nintendo news. So, you guys remember Street Pass on the Nintendo 3DS? One of the greatest things that system ever allowed you to have, and one of the few things I really, really missed on the Switch. Well, you might have a super rare one that people are looking for. In summer of 2012, Nintendo collaborated with All Nippon Airways to distribute the Puzzle Swap Puzzle. I'm just going to say ANA, A symbol, and DS. I'm not even going to try and say that. I am too white to say that. Currently, this is the only lost puzzle out of the entire collection. Now, people have found ways to be able to do street passes online, where you can have it connected to a particular server and it will ping off of other people. It's not the same as, going around and being in physical proximity, but it's the only realistic way to do it now.
It was the best at conventions because you got to see all the people.
I only ever got to go to one major convention with that, and I got to go to San Diego Comic-Con for 2 years in a row with it. And I got most of Nintendo's upper management people's Mii's. And then
you get their gold me out of nowhere.
And then years later, that 3DS was stolen out of my car. I got it back, but they had reset it, and that I lost everything, including my Iwata one. I was so pissed. Oh, So
And that is why I am so glad that I don't leave consoles in my car for any reason. So
I mean, it was a handheld. It was in a bag. I was going in my house for a bit.
never had my car broken into either, but
We have that here in the Midwest, but that's because the police keep saying, "Hey, when it's cold out, don't leave your car running and go back inside your house." And I'm like, "Why do people what? Your car running?"
Yeah, see, I could just tell my car to warm up or cool down from here and leave it, and it doesn't matter. So, I don't know. I'll have to look and see. Like, I still have a bunch of the Street Pass puzzles, and it got to the point I would make sure after that happened, I turned all of them on, and they would just Street Pass each other multiple times in the same day to try and build the puzzles out to back up all my stuff as best I could.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to take a look at this, huh?
I miss Badge Arcade.
I do too. That was the best.
I still go on Street Pass every now and then just to like look at stuff.
I played the Street Pass games religiously.
Oh, so did I. I mean,
I
you can
bought
still kind of
every one they had.
you can still kind of play them.
Yeah.
And you
I have
can
to play
still,
with my own set of 3DSs around the house.
Yeah, you can still kind of play them. And honestly, down here, if you go to the cons and you have your 3DS on you, you will pick up a few. Like, not a lot, but a few. If you go to the airport, you will pick up a few, but not a lot. It'll go down as years go on until inevitably there's another resurgence of, you know.
I bet if you go to Tokyo Game Show, it'll never turn off.
Probably. Yeah, just go to Tokyo Game Show.
There you go.
That's another feature. That's like a useless feature I would love to see return on Switch 2 is a form of like Street Pass or some kind of connectivity. Though I wonder if that would be, you know, people wouldn't like the fact that it's like, oh, you know, you were in this area and it tagged you. Some people thought it was a privacy thing.
I just want shop music to come back.
No kidding. That's another good bonus. All right. So on to a fun little story that I wanted to share. So you guys remember the movie The Avengers that came out a while back? Kind of popular, you know, with Marvel. Very, very large collaboration. Well, they brought the entire cast back and reunited to make a special dub version of it in the Lakota language. And they did the entire film. So all the main actors came back and voiced their parts, being trained and taught with the people there, along with a series of people from the Lakota Nation that were working with them and doing the other voices and other things as well. The process took over 15 months and included 62 Lakota-Dakota language speakers. And a lot of this was kind of a way to share this movie with their children in a way where they could recognize it in their native language. And also because their language has been in decline for a long time because the children that were brought into some churches and schools and things were actually punished if they were caught speaking their language. So they would have to kind of go quietly while people were out of the room to use it, or quietly at night, kind of going underground for their own spoken language, which they're working now to kind of keep it alive and bring it back. And I thought this was just such a interesting way to kind of push that of making dubbing a whole movie over in that language that's been out for a while. So
my friend Megan, she kind of because that's her language. So her grandparents and stuff like that speak it and all that. And she was saying it's so amazing because normally you only hear the elders talking in that language. So she thought it was really, really cool. And she's like, this is awesome. She's like, cause she doesn't.
I get to hear Robert Downey Jr. saying.
Yeah. Like she knows enough, but it's not like, as far as I know, it's, you know, it's not her first language, but she knows enough. That she was like, oh, this is just the coolest thing, and it meant a lot to her. So that's kind of cool. But like, I think it's amazing when filmmakers go back and then dub movies in languages that they weren't like dubbed before. That's one of the reasons why I think a lot of these a lot of the shows on Amazon are so amazing. The productions are, because they dub it into almost every language that you could think of. I don't know if they did this one, but when you go through, it's like, oh, look at all these things that we have subtitles for. Look at all these things that we have dub for. And I'm like, whoa, like that's a lot of accessibility. Wow. So
That's one of the things I like about the physical releases for a lot of movies is they tend to include a lot of these on there. And then even outside the different languages, there's like the descriptive audio versions that are more prevalent to be found on the physical releases and not always on the streaming ones. That is how Jennifer prefers to watch movies now. Like almost always she likes to watch them that way to hear that. But
I will say, I do not watch movies now without subtitles. And this is not like hearing going down with age or whatever. I've been like this since I was like 25. And the reason why is because I don't know what it is, but sometimes they mumble on even in film, they mumble or they talk too fast. I talk fast. I think sometimes yeah, like they mumble and then sometimes they talk too fast. I need subtitles when I talk, I think, because I talk so fast sometimes. But I'm just like I won't watch it without subtitles now. But yeah, so I think that's important that they did that.
Must have been quite the. I don't think it took 15 months for Vin Diesel to get his payday for Groot.
No.
I'm about to say Groot wasn't even in that one.
Well, when they were in like some of the major battles, he said stuff.
Well, this is the original Avengers, not the later ones.
Like
Groot wasn't even out yet.
The old one. Wow.
Right. They brought back that whole cast. What I also thought was interesting, not only the fact they were doing this, but that they got that cast to come back, because a lot of times if you do dubs in other languages, they recast for different people. You don't always get people that don't natively speak that language to come in and speak their roles.
Yeah, that's kind of, it was definitely unique that they came back and did that and had these I guess language coaches to help them do it.
Yeah, they had actual native speakers. Like they even had their own sound studio on their tribal lands that they built, that they were using and doing stuff. Like it's I'll find the video and I'll post it on the Discord. It was really cool kind of watching how they were going through and what they were doing. Like, I don't understand a word they're saying, but it's still really cool that what they're doing.
Does that mean they brought in the old voice of Thanos before they got the official actor?
I don't know. They had one guy speaking lines that sounded like he could have been Thanos, but I have no idea what the guy was saying.
It also reminds me, like, you know,
it could have been a Chitauri.
I know we just talked about something sad for Capcom, but their Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is going to be fully voiced in 9 languages and subtitled in 14.
Good Lord, that's awesome.
That game is going to be accessible as all hell.
Yeah. There was another story I meant to add on here. We might toss it on here as well for accessibility that came up recently, but I want to get to this next one that we had. So let's jump over to that. So Viz Media has purchased the rights to RWBY, and its catalog will now be available through them. No new series or continuations announcements have been made, but they do urge fans to stay tuned, as they usually say. That's like the general, like, we have no announcements, stay tuned. But I know Jeremy and John watched a bunch of RWBY. I am not super familiar with it, so if you guys want to say anything about it, please do. I'm kind of out of my water on this one.
I've watched enough of it, and I have people in my friends group that are obsessed with it, that love it. My friend Tass adores the show, and I mean, it's a good, like, it's a good 3D animation show, and it's evolved over time to improve even more. You can definitely see its age in earlier seasons, but it's one of the big ones in Rooster Teeth's catalog. Like, it's one of the things that they got really well known for, and that's who it was by. That's who they were part of. And then when that all is shut down, of course, one of the biggest things is RWBY, and everyone was so concerned about where it would go. Where would it find its home? Where would we be able to access all of the episodes? So the good thing about them buying it is it has a home now. It's not going to just, one day poof and become inaccessible.
Right.
So
Yeah, I know with a lot of the stuff going on, that was kind of a concern, and
Yeah.
I remember hearing about that one. So, well, I mean, at least it's going somewhere, better than just dropping off the face of the earth. So, all right. So this last one, I just wanted to touch on real quick because I thought it was kind of an interesting one. So there's a writer. She's also a developer, works with Sony and some other people on different games, by a woman named by the name of Alana Pierce. She does a lot of disability advocacy and so forth. Well, she made a comment recently talking about like temporary disabilities or situational disabilities, which are actual terms that are used, and made the comment. This whole thing popped up about what was it? Not Dark Souls, but wow, thinking of the wrong game here. One of the games that came out recently or a while back, the DLC, does not have the ability to pause. And there's a trend of some games not allowing you to pause. And everyone's like, oh, that should be how they are. And they're saying, well, they need to have pause in some of these because it's a disability thing for some people. And they were talking about for like partial or temporary ones of like people that have kids. You know, if you're playing a game and, you know, Elden Ring, that's the game I was talking about. Like if they're doing something and you have to go deal with your kid or, you know, because kids do kids things. They might be trying to shove a fork in a socket or eat the dog food or, you know, whatever. Not because you're not watching your kids, but because, you know, kids are kids. That's what they do.
Kids indeed are kids.
Yeah.
Stick a fork in dog food or eat a socket.
Right. All could be possible. God, it's
Or,
very
you know,
possible.
vice versa. So
Yeah. The socket could try and eat the child. I don't know.
Sockets in the dog food. Dog
she
food in the
was-
socket.
She was talking about this as
the
something,
dog food could electrocute something.
right? Oh, we've gone off the rails on that one. But they're talking about the fact that games should have the ability, especially if you're in a single player mode, to pause the game. It's not like some crazy difficulty thing or it's going to ruin the game, but people have real life. And it's not, you know, people are throwing a huge fit as they like to do, going after her, making comments like, oh, she must be like the mom that parks in a disabled parking spot because they think, you know, because they have kids. Well, for one, she doesn't have kids. She's just talking about how other people are dealing with this because it's part of her job. But two, it's not just children. If you're playing a game that will not allow you to pause, you know, if someone knocks on your door and a package is being delivered, or your dog starts chewing on something, or you look over and your cat's peeing in your laundry, that's happened before. You know, life happens. So I don't see why it's a problem having a pause button with the option to do it. Even because they even said there's a way to pause in the game where you have to go through this whole complicated thing, which they replied, then why can't I just pause? Like if you can do it, but I have to go through all this stuff, making a pause menu difficult is not part of the gameplay. Like what the hell?
I can understand if it was like a live service game,
Single
or
player
if it's-
offline only is what they're talking.
or if it's MMO, but to not have it in a single player just seems kind of weird unless there's some kind of online component they're not telling you. I do remember the old days, which I hated as a child though, because like NES games would allow you to pause, but they would take everything off of the screen so you couldn't memorize the thing.
I remember that. Because she was very clear about this. Like in Elden Ring, you can play it offline. You can play it by yourself offline. You don't have to worry about all that stuff going on. So why can't you pause it? Like you're knowing you're there, but people were replying back saying, well, these people just shouldn't play it then. And that's kind of a BS answer to that. Like having kids, you know, playing games while having children does not automatically mean you're not paying attention to your kids. It does not automatically mean you're being a bad parent. You have other things you're going to be doing where it's not just kids 24/7. So I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting one. I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that.
I think it translates into other things. It shouldn't just be the gameplay either. I think we've all wanted skippable or pausable cutscenes. Like we don't want it to skip the cutscene. Maybe, like you said, somebody rings the doorbell and you're in the middle of a cutscene. You can't watch the whole thing play out.
Yeah.
And like, just like when I told you, something like Snatcher, the last part of the ending is like 30 minutes of just straight talking. So there's no pausing that. And even more, I'm trying to get the exact amount of what it was, but I remember a game for 360 and PS3 called Eternal Sonata.
Yes.
I think might hold the record for the longest ending because it was like almost like feature length and it was unskippable.
Oh my god. I did not even aware of that.
Mhm.
It's fine, Rachel. Dogs are dogs.
I don't know what she keeps barking at. Like, there's nothing going on at all. She's just barking to bark. I don't.
For audio listeners, the dog is happy
Yeah.
or something. The dog is dogging.
The dog.
The dog is dogging.
Dogging.
Oh, okay, the ending is over 40 minutes long.
Oh, wow.
Good lord, there are literally some children movies that aren't that long. That's nuts. That's like some Kojima level stuff right there. Because even Metal Gear, I think, got to the point you could pause. Like, you could actually pause the damn cutscene. Because they were just so long, you were like, oh, okay, you might need to go do something. Like, eat.
In that game,
or
when you
go to
first
the
bought, what was
bathroom.
it, Metal Gear Solid 3, and you plugged it in, you're like, oh, I have to watch Snake smoke for 45 minutes while I install.
Oh, yeah, Metal Gear Solid 4. That was
4.
such a weird loading screen. Like, why? Why?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump over then to our big question. So this one is one that Steven and Chris came up with this week. What is a game you thought would be bad and you enjoyed it once you played it? Or the opposite, a game you thought would be great that ended up being just bad? Steven, we'll start with you.
I have 2 on the bad then good.
Okay.
And they're both Chris's fault.
Well,
I'm gonna
well,
go.
you answer that. I'm gonna go grab my copies of an example of each.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
God.
go recent. I'm gonna go recent first, and then I'm gonna go to one that I absolutely adore now. So the recent one was the Zenless Zero, because I was like, no, if it's got to be a competitive game, if my friend likes it, it must be like Overwatch but different and stuff. And I was just like, no, it's just gonna be another Genshin Impact. And then this guy just wanders into my office and he just says like, this is actually really fun and I don't like gacha games and I really like this. So when he's talking up a game and telling me everything except for you should play it, I was just like, I should play it.
I missed the
And
title.
I was
Which
just
one
like,
you said?
I don't know why I'm enjoying this, but I was like, I kind of am.
Which game was
And
it? I missed you.
There was no barrier of entry and that kept me away. It was just, do you have some time to play? But more classically,
Mhm.
again, is a lot of games are coming out for Switch, as we know, tons of them. And a big thing about Switch was having all these games that looked retro, 16-bit, 8-bit. And I was getting tired of it because they always played almost like, what's the word? Too floaty. They didn't play like a classic 8-bit game or 16-bit game. So I was just, whenever I saw these, I was like, nah. And then once again, I'm downstairs just playing a game, and Chris just walks in, and he's just like, there's this game that I'm playing right now, but I don't think I'll ever beat it. It's just too hilarious. I was like, what do you mean? And he's just like, it's this game called Infernax. It basically plays like a Castlevania, Metroidvania. But he's just like, all the deaths are just so hilarious. I'll never beat it. And I was like, okay, if it's hilarious for him, that means the game probably is really good. Because the last game he couldn't beat like that was Wild 9, which I loved that
that's a
game.
good one.
So I was just like, I'm not, I know what happens. If it's something so funny he can't beat it, that means the game's really well put together. So I was like, let me try Infernax. Then I got hooked. Then I beat it 6 times or something like that. Now there's an update to it that makes it co-op. There's just tons of stuff that made that game better and better and has such great replay value and just a lot of charm. And I was like, it's all because he was just like, it's funny. I'll never beat it because I die so much.
Good Lord.
I don't want to say about the opposite because the opposite is just saying bad things about games.
All right. Chris, what about you?
This is going to be a weird one, but
We expect nothing less.
Rusty's Real Deal Baseball.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I thought it was just going to be some boring little cash grab that you just press the button and hit the bat. But the more you played, and the fact that they offered discounts,
You could
You know.
actually haggle.
actually haggling, and you helped this poor, decrepit manager of a video store / baseball store just try to get back in tune with his kids and his family while playing a regular game. Honestly, I wish more games did that, where you start with what the price would normally be,
Mhm.
and they let you haggle and just get into the game itself. Can you imagine how badly the microtransaction business would be if they let you haggle?
You ever get to the point where you would like get the price down really low and he'd just be like so defeated, you'd actually be like, I feel kind of bad. Like,
Yeah, the kid says that too. It's like, I'm lowballing my own father. It's great.
oh man, that game was
That's a great
so
game.
good. That's a
It
good. That's a
really
really
is.
good example. I wish I'd thought of that one. That's a good one.
On the opposite side, and this is
Mhm.
probably going to shock people, I don't like Wario World. And it is a Wario game and a Treasure game. Two things that I absolutely adore. I adore Treasure's lineup, things like Silhouette Mirage, Gunstar Heroes, all that. And I am a fan of the Wario games and Wario Land 4. But Wario World just doesn't feel like a good mix.
It's a
And I
GameCube
loved
one,
it.
right?
Yeah. What's that?
That was the GameCube 3D one, right?
It was. It was the game.
I loved
have
it, and
that
had
one.
some of the best pause music.
Oh no, the music is wonderful. Charles Martinet's acting is great, but the fact that they made Wario himself into this kind of weird, stretch panic Play-Doh looking guy.
It felt like a weird mid step between the different games they were trying to adapt, and they were trying like, we're gonna make a Wario game, but we're not quite used to the GameCube hardware yet, so we're gonna make it like this. And it felt almost generic with him stamped on it. Like, it's a good game to me, but it doesn't feel as big
You're
as the
gonna make
other
me
Wario
download
games.
the theme music again, man. I love
I'm
that
going to listen to
music.
the pause music for the rest of the night after this.
Just his theme, the
Yes, don't get me wrong. I really want to like it, but I don't because of the gameplay. The same thing with Wario Master of Disguise. It's such a fun premise, but
Mhm.
it uses the DS gimmick too much. Wario Land 4 is the pinnacle of Wario gameplay that's not WarioWare. After that,
All right. Okay, Rachel, what about you?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So, all right. So
Which way are we going?
Yeah, which way are we
YOLO.
going? Let's know which
Okay.
first.
Okay. So, the first thing I thought of when I was thinking about this was, okay, Henry Hatsworth. I didn't expect to like that game. Y'all
So
know what I'm
good.
talking about, right?
It's so good.
Like, literally, this game I got, like the copy I got, is quite literally some rando dude traded in 2 copies while I was still working at the mall GameStop. And I
Mhm.
think George bought them right then and there, kept one for himself, and then gave one to me and said,
It's
"You
such a
need to
good
play
game.
this." And I go, "Okay." And he goes, and then he's like, no, I'm giving it to you. This is your game. This is your game. And it's just so great. But games I didn't think I would like, that's not my actual answer. That's just a good story. My actual answer are these 2 games. So I don't know if you could read this one. It's Looks Pain. It's
Oh wow!
yeah.
Oh
So
Looks
right.
pain.
no,
Right. So this game,
that's pain.
it's painful,
I've never even
but
heard
it's
of it.
entertaining, and I loved
Oh.
it. It's very visual novel. It's got time travel. It's got mystery. It's got weird crap. It's weird. And it's fun. It is so weird. It's good. That's what makes it good. And I enjoyed the heck out of it. I thought it would be worse than it was. It wasn't, at least not to me. The other one is Shadow of Destiny. Did you guys ever play this?
I'm looking it
don't
up to
think so.
see if I have.
It's kind of got it's Konami. So It's like, if given the chance to change your fate, would you? So you collect clues to solving your death. It's got 500 years of time travel back and forth to go through. It's got homunculi. It's got the Philosopher's Stone. It's got multiple endings. What you do in the past affects the future. The graphics are not great. It gives me Silent Hill vibes sometimes, but I can replay this game and it's just endlessly amusing because it's so weird. So games that everyone else thinks are bad, that I thought was going to also be bad, I ended up enjoying, right?
Mhm.
These two games I ended up really enjoying, but everything I've ever read about them says they're bad, right? On the other hand, game that I thought that I would really enjoy strictly because of the premise, the type of game it is, and the gameplay. Edge of Eternity on the PS5 by Midgar Studios. So I supported this game, I think, on Kickstarter or whatever they did. And I was like, oh man, this looks great. And it's got Yasunori Mitsuda as one of the composers for the music. I was like, oh man, this could be good. It's an action RPG. Like, it looks pretty. It's the voice acting ruins the entire experience. It is not good.
Ooh,
There's some
bad.
there's some pacing issues. I wanted to like this game. I do not like this game. I have played it for maybe, I don't know, 6 hours total. And it's still in it. It's just, not all RPGs are made alike. You'd think because it's an RPG, Rachel would like it. Wrong. Just because it's an RPG doesn't mean I'll like it if it's anything like this one.
They've only made 2 games.
Oh,
they made Edge of Eternity and they made Hover.
Yeah.
Which was like their version of trying to be Jet Set.
Yeah, so this bless them. They tried. I will say the art is really pretty. The environments are really pretty. The music, like they went all out on certain things, but I don't know what happened with the voice acting. I don't know.
Yeah, if you want to see another free example of somebody going all out, download the demo for your Switch for Lunar Lander Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, the game's intro goes so hard that you think you're going to watch some Gundam Saga
so
epic.
Does this one. It goes
and then
hard.
It's Lunar Lander. I'm like, how do you make Lunar Lander epic?
Like go look up the intro video and like the music for this game. Like, it goes ham, hard, balls to the wall. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a good time with this. No.
Yeah, Steven, this is like the modern day version of the old Atari box artists. Like, yeah. Oh my god, this game looks
exactly
amazing.
What Lunar Lander did. I showed Chris that, and the entire intro went through, like, I don't know, all 5 seasons of Babylon 5, and I'm like, what are they doing? Look at these twists, and there's nothing about that in the game.
They blew their whole budget on just the opening.
Yeah.
And we're spent. Somebody go rip an Atari game. All right, so I got a couple on one side and a couple on the other. I'm going to start with the bad ones first. These are ones that, one, I hyped myself on, which was just, I was so happy to get this game, excited to go buy it, and that was Superman 64.
Oh no! Oh no!
The first game I ever, because it was new at the time, Rachel, no one knew about it. Mm-hmm. This was a fabled thing of like, we're going to be able to be Superman in 3D. It's the first game I've ever returned the day I bought it. I went back to Toys R Us and made them take it back. I did end up going home with the N64 memory expansion and pod racing. So it worked out to be a better day. Good choice. The other one that was kind of hefted on me that everyone's like, you need to play this. It's going to be fantastic. And we're going through is a game called Biomutant that ended up being a massive disappointment. It just looks weird, sounds weird, plays weird, gets incredibly repetitive. It's one of those games that gets all hyped up and then just kind of like that's all you get from it. I remember seeing like, oh, they're making a version of it for the Switch. And my first thought was, oh my God, it can get worse. Like it's going to run even worse. There's nothing they can do with this. On the flip side, a game that I got a hold of that I thought would be terrible that I ended up absolutely loving is called Looney Tunes Duck Amuck on the Nintendo DS. So this is kind of in line with what you were saying, Chris, about the Wario one using too many of the DS features. This one used every DS feature in such a great way, and they even had to get permission from Nintendo to do one thing no other game was allowed to do.
Yep.
And that was be able to continue running when you shut the lid. Because basically this is like a virtual pet, but it's beautifully animated and fully voiced of Daffy Duck.
That's how you shut up Daffy, and he got mad when you shut the 3DS.
Well, you don't shut him up. You close the lid, and he's complaining he can't see, and you have to use L and R to kind of stumble him around the room to get to out of the room where you open it back up. And you can draw on him. You can mess with stuff like from the cartoons. It's not a real game like with a story mode. It is basically a virtual pet, but it's so funny. And it's such a highlight of the DS's design that you could not do today the same way. Because as soon as you tried it on an iPad and you folded it in half, well, good luck getting that fixed. Just snap. But
what year did that game come out?
Oh, God. According to this, October 9th, 2007.
Yes. That's early 2000s WB for you. Absolutely unhinged.
It's just, you need to find this game. It's so funny. But I picked it up thinking, well, this is going to be some kind of licensed crap. I'll give it a shot. Maybe it'll be somewhat fun. Like I did used to enjoy the Super Nintendo Duck Dodgers. That was a big title that I always enjoyed. You know, it's not the best platformer, but I have a history with it. So I kind of picked it up and wow. Like I wish I could stream it, but I don't even know how that would work. Like I'd have to get another camera and figure something out, but it's just,
you know better than that.
Was that a challenge?
You know
Chris?
better than that.
Now I have to. So, yeah. So this ended up being a kind of a funny question. I enjoyed this one. All right.
Good question.
Yeah. So we've a little over almost an hour and a half. I think about time to start wrapping up the episode tonight. So if you want to talk to us, you can find all of our contact information in the notes or the comments right below the podcast or on YouTube, or you can find it in the notes for wherever your podcast is downloaded, wherever your podcast app is. If you're watching the video version, you'd like to listen to us, we do an audio version that's over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you can download the show. Just look for the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast and you will be there. Feel free to leave us whatever thumbs up, star ratings, likes, whatever the review system is. Leave us a written review. We really appreciate those because it helps other people to find us and listen to us. And, you know, where we can find them, we try and get those. If you want to talk to us directly, you can go over to bit.ly/Zenspath Discord. Talk to us all directly there. We have whole sections on other stuff and maybe find out if I'm selling parts of my collection. And then if you're listening to this and you'd like to watch the video version of it, where it's usually Steven showing things off or Rachel bringing games on occasion that she's wanting to burn. You looked really upset at that game, Rachel.
It upset me a lot.
It's bad.
Okay.
You can go to youtube.com/Zenspath podcast or Zenspath pod. Sorry. Zenspath. God, I can't get anything right today. Zenspath .com. I'm getting all mixed up in my brain here. That's the YouTube page. The Twitter account for us is Zenspath Podcast, where you can message us there directly or find out when the show is there. But this has been episode 134, and we're out. Peace.